Hi, I'm Cameron, and I don't just read comics, I love them. Welcome back to another episode of Cameron Reads Comics. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Batman Cheer by Chip Zdarsky and Eddie Barrows. Let's get right into it. First and foremost, this video is inspired, and this reread of this story is inspired by the brand new Batman writer announcement, who is Chip Zdarsky. So, this isn't his first foray into the character. He's written Batman a handful of times, but I think this is the first arc that we ever got that Chip Zdarsky got to, handle Batman, and really we got an idea of his take on him. So I think he did like a story in Detective Comics 1027. I think it was Batman's birthday. Then it's stuff like that, like, random stuff. That he did a little bit of Batman Justice League Last Ride, which maybe you'll get a video for. You'll probably get a video for it because I love Zdarsky. I just think his writing is unparalleled. So with the new Batman announcement and with everything going on, I was like, well, if he's gonna be writing the mainstay Batman title, then we should go check out, Batman Urban Legends. It's all on DC Universe Unlimited, and that's actually how I read it. Yeah, like I have all the single issues too. I just couldn't find them. They're here somewhere. I couldn't find my single issues for this story. But yeah, I just think that this is an awesome story. So let's just get into what Batman Cheer is about. This is a Batman Red Hood story. And there's a new drug on the Gotham City streets called Cheer Drops. That work like Scarecrow's fear gas, and it gives everyone their greatest desires. This story also takes place in Batman Urban Legends number 1 through 6. I'm not a subscriber to this title, but the reason I picked up issues 1 through 6 was only for this arc. It's an anthology book, so there's a bunch of other series, like miniseries, happening in these pages. These were 6 issues, about 20 pages each issue for this story in particular. Then there's other ones, and frankly, I didn't read them because I'm oversaturated with Batman, but I wanted to see what Chip Zdarsky would do. So this is a Batman Red Hood story, and it's also really important to say that I'm not a huge Red Hood fan. There's some characters, and I'll just be fully transparent. The Punisher, there's obviously Red Hood, Deadpool, even sometimes Deathstroke, just not my jam. I like Deathstroke a lot, but I just don't even... It's hard to get me to want to read his stories. And I couldn't even explain to you why. I just know who I like, and I know who I'm just kind of like meh about. Red Hood is one of those characters. And I actually think that when it comes to the Batman family, he is one of the most difficult characters to write. I think Jason works in Under the Red Hood, and then after that, it's a hard time to find... I think he has a hard time finding his footing and like his place in the Bat family. There wasn't a story that helped me understand or like Jason until this one. And even like, I think one of the bigger Jason arcs was Batman 3 Jokers. I think they're really kind of pushing that up to be like a great Jason arc. And I'm not a huge fan of that story. Like, I don't dislike it. I think it's a middle of the road Batman story, but I don't think it propelled Jason I don't like him anymore after that, So that being the case, this story helped me change that. It helped me understand Jason. I think it made Jason more likable. There's a lot in this story that I just adored. First being Jason's affinity for strays. Him being an orphan is one thing, but also when it comes to all the Robins, I think Jason had the hardest upbringing. He notoriously was caught stealing the hubcaps off the Batmobile, or the tires off the Batmobile, when Batman found him, took him in because he was a stray. His parents weren't available. He was just a kid from the streets, and so his heart goes towards that. And so when it comes to the Cheer Drops, there is a family, or pretty much Jason is trying to find the dealer, or trying to find who's using these drugs, where to get them, where to get the suppliers. He stumbles across a woman and her child. The woman has not overdosed, but she's strung out on Cheer Drops, and her his name is Tyler, and he kind of becomes a big part of the story. Zdarsky uses Tyler to, have Jason reflect on his own upbringing, and Jason has this, tough exterior, but when it comes to strays and the use of Cheer Drops, and like, he has this love for Tyler that's just so apparent. And The Bat characters always they do this wonderful thing that I just adore, because the Bat family wants to be terrifying to villains, not to the public. They want to be hope for the public. They want to be, if you're breaking the law, like they'll have an issue. Jason, breaks off his tough exterior, and he meets this kid, and he just wants to protect him. He's like, okay, your mom's obviously not available to take care of you. Where can we go? Let's go see your father. Let's go do something. And to keep this kid safe, he gives the kid his, he has a double mask thing going on. He gives the kid his mask, and it's pretty much his communicator to talk to Oracle. And the kid calls himself Blue Hood because his new favorite hero is Red Hood. And that's the kind of stuff that absolutely melts my heart. I literally love the Blue Hood arc so much. Favorite new member of the Bat family is Blue Hood. Look at wearing a blue hoodie right now in celebration. That was totally on purpose. I'm a sucker for feel-good comics, and so even with this moment, Batman finds out that Jason's hunting the Teardrop dealer down. His name is Cheer in the story, so that's Teardrops. Batman hunts down Jason to the point where they come across the same path, and Jason accidentally kills Tyler's mother. Now, there's a moment between Batman and Jason here, or Batman and Tyler as well, where Batman starts fighting Jason because he has no patience for someone who is killing. Like, it has always been an issue, and it makes sense to address as an issue of Batman being so adamantly against guns and then having a member of his team who is actively using guns. And Jason's whole thing is like, I use guns, but it's rubber bullets. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. And he no matter what, he used his gun to kill Tyler's father, who is pretty much just a terrible guy who would do terrible things. And so there's a moment that I wanted to talk about that like resonated tonally with me in this story, which was when Batman meets Tyler, because Batman's kind of whomping on Jason for having done that and trying to interrogate him, and Jason gets defensive, but Batman pretty much comes to Tyler, and there's a moment where he gives him a lollipop. And like, I don't know, there's something so inherently like Zdarsky about that, where there's a tonal shift in Batman that I think is pitch perfect in this story, which is, it's a dark story. Like, these are, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's so gruesome, but like, it's dark themes. But Batman and his cohort, they are not, they shouldn't be terrifying. And like, if anything, like, they want to be sweet and a safe haven for kids. And so there's a moment where Batman gives Tyler like a lollipop, and it was like the first time in comics I think I've ever seen that happen, Batman giving a child a lollipop. And it's like, what? Like, how, number one, in my head, how come I haven't seen this before? And number two, this makes perfect sense. And number three is like, I love it. So it was just great. I just loved that. Now, the other villain, so Cheer is one villain of the story, but the other villain is Mr. Freeze. And I think one of the things about this story that I also really liked is that it's not a story about Batman and Jason Todd. It is a story about, it's not a story about Batman versus Mr. Freeze, and, Mr. Freeze is just kind of there. He's just kind of doing his thing. He's on Teardrops too, so he's like out of his mind. And, it's really a story about Batman and Jason's relationship, and it cuts between Batman and Jason being together, and then, how they're at odds now, but then how they are, like, how they cut back to flashback scenes too, where Jason was a kid and he was Robin, and Batman was just it was Jason's moments as Robin. And I just really love that because it propels this narrative forward. You see arcs that are similar. This really, narratively, I just thought, like, even structure, everything that he did was so good. And so, the story culminates with Batman getting OD'd on Teardrops and Jason needing to save him. And, he does, but the catch-22 is with Cheer, the villain, Batman had gotten a concentrated dose. So Teardrops work like Scarecrow's fear toxin. And so, like, it just perpetually makes you terrified and shows you your greatest fear. With Teardrops, Batman gets a concentrated dose of, like, happiness, which is not something that he's used to. Eventually, Batman pretty much needs Jason to save him. And Jason prevents Batman from killing Cheer in the way where, Batman turns to Jason's means of solving crime, and Jason becomes Batman and trying to beat the moral high ground. And it was just a really beautiful moment, and like not something we've seen with those two characters before within their relational dynamic. And I thought it was it was like pitch perfect. It was masterful. For the art, I love Eddie Barrows on art. He did some previous work on a Detective Comics run with James Tynion. You will see a video about that soon. His art style and the way that he makes Batman look in like such a full figure, like tonally again, like I think really works with Batman. His page layouts are awesome. There's so many just like panels that are bat symbol shaped, and I don't know, brand synergy wise, that's my jam. I love that. And the way he draws Batman. And it's all about personality with Batman's cape. And I see so much personality with it. Like, I just think that's 90% of Batman art. I'm like, yeah, like the way his body frame is and the way he moves, obviously. The cape tells the story, though. Very polished, very modern comic book style. And for this story, that's what I needed. For my rating of the story, I give it a 9.2 out of 10. I think it is awesome. It was just a very, very, very solid Batman story. It makes me so excited to see Zdarsky on the main title. If you haven't read this, I recommend reading this before you go and read Batman. Number 125, where Zdarsky is going to pop on, especially with George Jimenez's art. It's going to be so freaking good. I'm just so excited. So go check that out. Drop a comment. Let me know what your favorite part about the story was, or what you're looking for Zdarsky on Batman. Make sure to clap with those like and subscribe buttons. I will see you guys next time.